Okay, so we are going to solve an inequality. So we have 2 times 7x minus 1 2 times 7x minus 1 and less than or equal to 6 2x minus 8. Okay, so if we're solving this, the first thing that we want to do is we're going to treat it just as if there was an equal sign. We're going to do everything we solve just the same. The only exception we have is if we have to divide by a negative in the last step, then we flip our sign, but that's the only time that we would do that. And in this case, we may not need to. So first, let's start by distributing. So we're going to have 14x minus 2 is less than or equal to, we've got here 12x minus 48. As we continue, we want to move our x to the left. So let's subtract 12x from both sides. That leaves us with 2x minus 2 is less than or equal to negative 48. We're going to move our 2 over, so we're going to do the opposite and add. So we have 2x is less than or equal to, that will give us a negative 46. Now what we're dividing by here is a positive 2. Since we're dividing by a positive 2, we do not change our sign. And half of 46, that would give us a negative 23. One thing to notice too, on problems like this, they will have a bracket at the front and the back. They're going to have an X and then a line here. So when you see this set notation that might be already on the computer, you still have to type in the X, the inequality sign, and the answer when you're doing problems with inequalities. See here, that's what I was pointing out. They're going to have the bracket, the X. You still have to type in the X is less than or equal to the negative 23. Let T be the number of years since 1978. What does it mean if T is 2? Okay, so here, T is the number of years since 1982. Since meaning after or later. So if T is equal to 2, that means we're going to take 1982, we're going to add 2 to it, and that's going to give us 1984. So with a problem like this, the number of years since, it's just a simple addition. You're just going to add the value they give you for T for that particular problem. And I gave a different year than they had, but that's okay. Graph the inequality on the number line. We have 7 is less than or equal to y, which is less than 9. So 7 is less than or equal to y, which is less than 9. What we need to pay attention to here on a number line, here's our 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. All right, so if you have an inequality symbol that has an equals, you're going to use a solid circle. If you have an inequality and there is not an equals, you use an open circle. So on the number 7, you're going to have a solid circle. On the 9, you're going to have an open circle, and then it's going to be connected in between. So that's the only thing to remember. If it is equal to, it includes it, so make sure the dot is solid, and otherwise it would be an open circle. Simplify this expression. 16 minus 4, 16 minus 4, and then the 2x plus 3. The common mistake that people would do, and this is completely wrong, if somebody says 16 minus 4 and they use 12 and then try, that is wrong, because order of operations shows that you would multiply by distributing before you do that as a subtraction. So if you are inclined to do this, please do not do so. This would be completely inaccurate. Instead, what we're going to do is we are going to just do a simple distributing. So the 16 stays the same. Negative 4 times 2x is negative 8x. Negative 4 times 3y is a negative 12y. Once you get here, stop. You are finished. There's no more combining to do. We have a number, we have an x, we have a y. So this here will be our solution. So this one is a very simple one. You're just going to distribute the negative 4 times the 2x and the negative 4 times the 3y. The 16 you just bring down. You cannot do the subtraction because order of operations dictates that you do multiplication and division before addition or subtraction. Solve the equation for x. We have 3/10 x minus 1/5, 3/10 x minus equals 1. And we need to solve. Don't fret that there's a fraction. What we're going to do, if this was 3x minus 1, the first thing is we would move this to the right. So it's just we're moving a fraction. So we're going to add 1/5 to both sides. Here it cancels. We have 3/10 x equals, we're going to do 1 plus 1/5. So just use your calculator. 1/5. Now I'm going to convert it back to a fraction, and that gives me 6/5. Okay, so that's all we've done so far. We just moved the fraction to the other side. The next thing that we look at is this is 3/10 times x. So when you have multiplication, the opposite of multiplying is to divide. So all we're going to do is write divided by 3/10, divided by 3/10. So here, my 3/10 is going to cancel. I have x equals, on the calculator, you have 6/5. It's going to be divided by 3/10. So we're going to do 6/5 divided by 3/10. You do not need to change it to multiplying by the reciprocal. Sometimes that's where people have an error. Final answer is the whole number 4. So it's just that simple. Just let the calculator do the computation work for you on problems such as this. Okay, next, this is a good one. Find last year's salary if, after a 3% pay raise, this year's salary is $40,685. $40,685 is the salary now with a 3% raise. So for a problem like this, I personally set up a proportion. The 100% is what you would have made last year. That's what we're trying for, last year's salary. That is the X. This year, your salary is $40,005. This year, it's including a 3% raise. So the numerator is going to be 100 plus the raise. So in this case, that's going to be 103. At this point, we just simply cross multiply and then divide by 103. So the salary is going to be 1,685 times 100 divided by 103, and last year's salary was $39,500. $39,500. Okay, so a lot of things, always look and see if there's a possibility to turn that problem into a proportion, because oftentimes that's very possible with this test. A 12-foot piece of string is cut into 2 pieces so that the longer piece is 3 feet longer than twice the shorter. If the shorter piece is X feet long, find the length of both pieces. Okay, so string, it's 12 feet long. It's cut into 2 pieces. The small one is X. The larger one is 3 feet longer than twice the shorter. So what we have here is our string. Our string is 12 feet. It's cut into 2 pieces. Oh, goodness, I accidentally deleted that somehow. It's 12. It's divided into 2 pieces. The short piece is X. The longer piece is 3 feet longer than twice the shorter. So for this total length here, what we would be to add that together. So we're going to have X plus 2X plus 3 is equal to 12. And I could also label this as the short and this is the long piece. Okay, so let's combine like terms. 1X and 2X gives me 3X plus 3 is 12. I'm going to move my 3 over. So 3X is equal to, we got a 9 here. Divide both sides by 3, X equals 3. So that means the length of the short piece is 3. The long piece, remember we said was 2X plus 3. So that's going to be 3 plus 3, or 6 plus 3, which is 9. So 9 will be the length of the long, and 3 will be the length of the short. A toy ball sphere expands and contracts. When it's completely closed, it has a diameter of 5.5 inches. Find the volume of the sphere when it's completely closed. Use 3.14 for pi, round to the nearest whole cubic inch. And you're given that the volume of the sphere is 4/3 times pi times radius cubed. So volume is 4/3 times pi times radius cubed. We're told for pi, we're going to use 3.14, and we're told that the diameter is 5.5. So the first thing is my formula calls for the radius. What they gave me was the diameter. Remember, the diameter is the distance all the way across. The radius would be diameter divided by 2. It will be half of it. So we're going to take 5.5 divided by 2 to get the radius. So 5.5 divided by 2 is 2.75. So my radius is 2.75. So to calculate my answer, I'm going to do 4/3, multiply it by 3.14, that's my value for pi. My radius is 2.75, and I have to cube it. Okay, so let's do that on the calculator here. So here we have 4/3 times 3.14 times 2.75, and we're going to raise that to the power of 3. And it said to round to the nearest whole cubic inch. The nearest whole number would either be 87 or 88. We're going to look at this digit here. When you do the test, what I would want you to do is to write down 87.06. When it asks to round to the nearest whole cubic inch, we're rounding to the nearest whole number. What does the 0 make the 7 do? It would stay the same, so our volume would be 87 cubic inches. Yes. Yeah. Okay, use the distributive property to write the following expression without parentheses. So we have negative 4/5, negative 4/5, and then 10x minus 20y. I think somebody has a microphone that's still on. Okay, so we're just using the distributive property. Again, when you see a fraction, do not fret. We're just going to multiply and distribute. So negative 4/5 times 10. So you're going to use your calculator. We're going to do negative. Oh, wait a minute. Hit the wrong key. Hold on. Let me try that again. Negative alpha. Okay. So negative 4/5. And then it's just times 10. That gives us a negative 8. Okay. So we have negative 8x. Now here, this is negative 4/5, and we're going to treat this like negative 20. So negative 4/5 times, and again, here's your negative at the bottom, negative 20, and that gives us a positive 16, so that would be plus 16y. That's it, just simple distributing, but you've got to remember when you're distributing with a 20, you treat that as a negative 20, okay? Solve the equation. So 7w minus 8 7w minus 8 equals 2 plus 6w. 2 plus 6w. Okay, so if we're solving this, we're going to distribute the 7 here and here. So we have 7w minus 56 equals 2 plus 6w. So the first thing I would do is take my w on the right and move it to the left, just so my variable's on the left side. 7 minus 6 is 1, so we just have the 1w minus 56 equals 2. We're going to take the 56 that's negative, we're going to add it to move it to the other side, so w equals 58. By decreasing each dimension by 1 unit, the area of the rectangle decreased from 50 square feet to 36 square feet. Find the percent decrease in the area. When you look at the illustration, they have 10 feet went down to 9 and the 5 feet went down to 4. However, we're not using those values. They've already done the calculation. 10 times 5 is 50 and 9 times 4 is 36. So we're only concerned with the square feet. Okay, so the 50 and the 36. So we have one that has an area of 50, the other has an area of 36. We want to find the percent of decrease. So when we do a decrease of percentage, so we're going to have the decrease percent. On the top right is going to be the decrease amount, and on the bottom is going to be the starting value. We have to do one calculation though. In order to solve this, we need to calculate the decrease amount. We're trying to figure out the percent. To get the decrease amount, we have to take 50 and subtract 36. When we do this, we get 14. 14 is the decrease amount. The starting value was where we began. We began at a size of 50. Now we have our proportion set up, and all we have to do is cross multiply. And so 14 times 100. So 14 times 100, and we're going to divide that by 50. And that gives us a percent of decrease of 28%. So 28% will be our solution. Solve for y. 5x minus 8y equals 19. 5x minus 8y equals 19. And all they say is solve y. That means we want to get the y alone, okay? For this problem, what we're going to do first is we're going to bring down the negative 8y, and then we're going to put our equal sign. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to take this 5x, we're going to move it immediately after the equals, and when we move it, we always use the opposite operation. So here it's a positive 5x. When I move it, it's minus 5x. And then the 19, we just bring it down. So the 19, I'm just going to bring down. Okay, we brought down the negative 8y. We moved the 5x to the other side of the equals. We changed it, made it the opposite operation. We just bring down the 19 as it is. Our last step of what we're going to do is that we need to divide each term because y to be alone. So we need to divide by negative 8. Please write it separately under each term. In the review and example, they don't do this, but I like to do it because here you see it cancels and we now equals. The important thing here is that a negative divided by a negative is a positive. So you can write 5/8 and then you type the x beside of it. A positive divided by a negative is a negative, and then you have 19 over 8. So you may leave it written in this form. You do not need to write it differently. The way they usually show it is they have y equals, they put 8 once in the bottom and then 5x minus 19 on top. To me, it is perfectly acceptable to leave it this way. They like to write it that way. The computer will accept both answers. I've checked for both of them and it accepts both. So I would just leave it here because this is how we're going to be working with this equation once we move into DMA 50. Okay, a birthday celebration meal is $42.60 including tax, but not the tip. Find the total cost if a 10% tip is added to the cost of the meal. So it's $42.60 and we want to leave a 10% tip. So $42.60 is the meal and we want to leave a 10% tip. So to calculate the tip, 10%, I would put over 100. If this is the tip percent, the top is going to be the tip amount, and that is the unknown. That's what we're solving for. The $42.60 is the cost of the meal. So we are going to cross multiply and divide. So 4260 times 10, and we're going to divide that by 100, and that would give us $4.26. So the tip is $4.26. They ask you for the total cost. You're going to add the $4.26 to the $42.60, and that's going to give us $46.80 for the total cost, including the tip. And we will do one more. Solve this equation. 6x plus 1 plus 2, 6x plus 1 plus 2 is equal to 2x plus 4, 2 plus 4, and then x plus 3. Okay, so first we're distributing here, and we're going to distribute here. So we've got 6x plus 6 and a plus 2 equals, bring down 2x, distributing here, we get a 4x, and 4 times 3 is 12. Okay. Oh, wait a minute. Did I write that right? 3 plus x. Okay. It doesn't matter which order. It's still an x and a 3. They're both positive. Now, on the left side, I need to combine like terms. So I'm going to combine these two. So I have 6x plus 8 is equal to, on this side, I'm going to combine the 2 and the 4. So that gives me 6x plus 12. So you can only combine like terms that are on the same side. My next thing is I'm going to move my 6x to the left. This is different than any other we've done. The 6x cancels on both sides. They're completely gone. I'm left with 12. Is 8 equal to 12? No. It is not equal to 12. It is not true. So my answer for this is going to be no solution. So if you have two values left and they're not equal, once the x's, if they completely canceled, our answer is a no solution. However, let me give you an example, a different scenario. You had 2x plus 5, and you simplified and had another 2x plus 5. When you move the 2x over, in this case, it all canceled, and we're left with 5 equals 5. 5 is equal to 5. That is true. So if what you have is true, your answer is going to be all real numbers. And on your test, it's going to be one or the other. Either they're going to match here, and it's going to be all real numbers. If you have different answers, it's going to end up being a no solution. Okay?